Skincare has been getting scandalous. Is The Ordinary being replaced by Revolution Beauty? There is a new brand out here from the UK that recently launched their skincare line, and a lot of their products look identical to the ones from The Ordinary. The Ordinary is an inexpensive skincare line of potent actives. Their whole thing is being the abnormal beauty company, and it's kind of where science and skincare really meet. Well, Revolution Beauty has launched some products that are really giving The Ordinary a run for their money. The prices are comparable, and the active ingredients are as well. In today's video, we are going to do an ingredient analysis. We're going to try these out on my face, I'm going to tell you how they work, and we're going to see if The Ordinary is actually being replaced by Revolution Beauty, or if these are different and do not count as dupes. Seeing as The Ordinary has been around longer, I definitely think that Revolution Beauty got inspired by The Ordinary, but I also don't think that's a huge problem. There's one thing when you're actually copying someone else and ripping someone else off, but it's something else when you're either being inspired by a line, or if you're offering customers something that is less expensive or more active when it comes to ingredients and formulas. So we're gonna break these down because you might be surprised at what I found. First, let's talk this very obvious inspired formula, which happens to be one of my favorite, the Niacinamide and Zinc 10%. Niacinamide is that B vitamin, and this formula has been shown to be great for blemishes, can help decrease the oil production within skin. And Revolution Beauty came out with a product that has the exact same name and the exact same packaging. It looks identical. The pricing is a little bit different. The Ordinary's one retails for $5.90, whereas the Revolution Beauty one retails for about $7 at Ulta. It's like literally a $1.10 price difference. Not a big deal, but how is it when they're actually applied to the skin or when we look at the ingredients? This is one that when applied to the skin, I really cannot tell a difference. They both feel about the same, the consistency is the same, and after I go to bed with them and wake up in the morning, the oil production regulation also seems to be about the same. Now, we should do another video on this because sometimes niacinamide and zinc can cause purging in the skin or cause people to break out. And when I started using both of these back up again, one on one side of the face and one on the other, I did notice that happening. So it is very interesting to me, especially because when we look at the ingredients, there are differences. They both have niacinamide and zinc PCA, which are the actives, and again, those are at 10% and 1%. But what's interesting is that The Ordinary has a lot of thickeners in theirs. I noticed some thickeners and also some stabilizers, and the main one being phenoxyethanol. This is a very popular ingredient. It's a replacement for parabens, but for some people, it can cause itching. It can cause irritation, redness, dermatitis, or the exacerbation of things like eczema. So for people who do have some of those skin conditions, it can be very dangerous to use, even if it's at a low level. Now, what's interesting is that although Revolution has the same actives, they have no phenoxyethanol, which is great. It looks like the preservative that they are using is disodium EDTA, which can also have issues with irritation, but they're very different than phenoxyethanol. So when it comes to using them, I found that both were pretty tolerant to my skin. I would have to use them for longer to see a major difference, but I would say that these are not dupes because although the pricing is almost the same, the Revolution one is a little bit more expensive, and I also think that this would be better for somebody who does have an irritation to phenoxyethanol. If you have that irritation, it's really frustrating because a lot of The Ordinary's products have them. So that's a win for Revolution Beauty. Now, when it comes to The Ordinary, if you don't like disodium EDTA or if you have an issue with that, and if you're fine with phenoxyethanol, you're saving $1.10, so take that as you will. Next, let's talk about these peptide serums. Peptides are notorious for being super expensive, so the fact that both of these are under $15 is fantastic. Now the question is, are they dupes for each other? What are the differences and how do they feel on the skin? These do actually have a slightly different name. The buffet doesn't really explain what it is, but on the inside it is this combination of different peptides, most of which are patented. Now Revolution Beauty makes it really obvious. They're like, hey, this is a multi-peptide serum. And to me that makes sense. And now when I apply them to the skin, there were a few differences. First off, the Revolution Beauty one is super liquidy. I felt as if it really smoothed onto the skin, and I can't really tell how deep it penetrated. It just felt really easy to rub around. Now, The Ordinary's definitely feels a little bit thicker. I've known and used this one for quite a while, and I trust this one. And I know that it works deep. Hi, Mr. Kitty. Bye, Mr. Kitty. It's also really easy to spread, but it does have a little bit more of a gummy texture, whereas this one was a lot more liquidy. Now the thing is that the Ordinary's is $14.90, so it's about 15 bucks, whereas Revolution's is only $12, and it is found at Ulta. Now, I thought to myself, okay, based on price, Revolution is a total win, right? But we actually have to look at the ingredients. Now, both of these are peptide serums, but they have different peptides and different amounts. Revolution Beauty has a triage of peptides, 3 different peptides that they're using, all of which are relatively small and seem to penetrate pretty deep. The Ordinary is using a combination of 5 different peptides, which I find very, very interesting. And looking at all of the other ingredients that they've included, it looks like they have some other interesting ingredients there too. Now, what's interesting is that the science for peptides is still kind of out. We know that some of them seem to work, but they haven't exactly been under the rigorous testing that we need to definitively say that, they boost up collagen and really rejuvenate the skin. And when it comes to peptides, they have to penetrate deep enough in order to work, and they have to stimulate collagen down in that bottom level of the skin. Now, because that's a lot to expect a product to do, some companies have been putting in other ingredients that tend to make the skin look brighter, more plump, and beautiful. Revolution Beauty doesn't seem to do that, but the Ordinary does. Actually, one of the first ingredients is a lactobacillus ferment. This is basically a dead bacteria. Lactobacillus, it's a lysate. So although it doesn't necessarily help recolonize the skin, it can help to balance it, and it has been shown to be smoothing and brightening and hydrating. What's also interesting is that the Ordinary contains a salt of hyaluronic acid, which is sodium hyaluronate. Now, this has been shown to penetrate super deep, so it could bring some of those peptides deeper, but it's also a humectant. Humectant meaning that it attracts itself to moisture and hangs on to it. So this naturally really plumps the skin. And again, we have that phenoxyethanol, which is a preservative to make sure this doesn't go bad, but that it can also irritate the skin. This has been one of my favorite products for a really long time. I wonder if the results that I actually feel and see are due to some of these other ingredients, or if it's actually the 5 different peptides. Now, Revolution Beauty Serum is really interesting. It's based off of a glycerin formula, and glycerin is known to smooth and hydrate the skin, so it helps to lock in a lot of the beneficial ingredients. There also seem to be a lot of stabilizers like xanthan gum or propanediol. Don't be afraid of those. Xanthan gum is actually found in food. These are just kind of stabilizers and thickeners and viscosity changers. So it's very interesting that it is so liquidy. And I don't see any major penetrators. Some of these may work as a penetrator, but really it looks like they created a formula and just threw the 3 peptides in there. So although the Ordinary is more expensive, I would want to go for it a little bit more, because even if it's not the peptides working, at least I'm getting some sort of a visible benefit. Whereas with Revolution, although it smooths onto the skin really nice, I can't say that I've seen a huge major difference. But if over time I do, then it definitely means the peptides be working. Inside of my dermis. But again, there is no phenoxyethanol in this one. So if you need a peptide serum that is okay for those who are reactive to phenoxyethanol, this could be a good go. Now, this is where it got super interesting to me. The Granactive Retinoid Serum. I feel like this is kind of what made the Ordinary famous, but Revolution Beauty came in here giving us the name of a product that looks identical, but a completely different formula. This is not a dupe at all. If you can actually see, this is an oil base and it's very, very liquidy, while as the Ordinary is very, very thick and it's almost a little bit paste-like. What's also amazing are the price points. Revolution is about $11 and the Ordinary is about $9.80. So seeing as these both have the Granactive Retinoid at 2%, what are the ingredients and do they compare? It's really fascinating for me to see these 2 different suspensions, especially because this one is an oil suspension. I know that the Ordinary does have a Granactive Retinoid in squalene, which is an oil suspension, but this is just the regular 2% emulsion. So the Ordinary does have water and glycerin. These really help to smooth over the skin, and then it has caprylic triglyceride, which you may have seen in your foundations. This is actually derived from coconut, and it really just smooths the skin. A little farther down the list, we have our hydroxypinocolone. This is our Granactive Retinoid, but what's interesting that the Ordinary did is that they included a regular retinol right after. So you kind of have 2 different types. There are some stabilizers in here as well. And then you do have some disodium EDTA as well as phenoxyethanol. So those who are sensitive might have an issue with this. Naturally, retinoids can be drying, but they are amazing for wrinkles, for acne, for sunspots, for damage. They're phenomenal. But this could cause some irritation to those who are sensitive. Now, Revolution's choice of ingredients is super, super interesting to me because they only have one form of retinoid, but they use a lot of oils in this. Again, one of the first ingredients is that caprylic triglyceride. That again is the derivative from coconut oil. But right after that, that, they literally contain straight up coconut oil. So if you are sensitive to coconut oil, you might not want to use this. They then have grapeseed oil, almond oil, and sunflower oil. All of these are really great for mature skin. For acne-prone skin, these oils altogether can be a little bit much, so I wouldn't totally recommend it for those who are blemish prone. But for those who have skin that takes to oil really well or who are worried about aging, this can be phenomenal. Then we do have our HPR, which is the only retinoid they're using, but overall that really explains the consistency. So these in no way possible are a dupe, and I would say that these are actually for different markets. A better comparison would probably be to the retinoid in squalene, but I don't personally have that product. Then we gotta talk about another one of my favorites. This is the AHA and BHA peeling solution. And again, they took the name directly. Now, what's actually interesting is the formula. Although these both have alpha hydroxy acids and beta hydroxy acids, they are very different, and even the color is super different. Revolution Beauty's is almost like this orangey pumpkin spice kind of brown. And I'm not gonna lie, it literally smells like grapes. Like, it smells like wine. I've never personally drank wine, but I have smelled it. And this kind of smells like it. Whereas the Ordinary's really doesn't have a smell. It's just pretty normal to me. But the color is much redder. It's like a Bordeaux blood red, and it looks really fun. If you ever want to like Instagram yourself using it, looks like you gave yourself a vampire facial. The pricing is pretty comparable, $7.20 for the Ordinary one, and I think it's like $8.99 or something like that for the Revolution one. Again, I couldn't find this in the US. I could only find this in British pounds, and I don't know if it's even for sale anymore because I can't find it on their website. So somebody help me figure out what's going on. Did they get sued? What's happening? But again, the truth is really told when we look at the ingredients. So we'll first start out with the Ordinary. They're first using glycolic acid, which is one of my favorite AHA acids, but on top of that, they use lactic acid and tartaric acid, which can both be really great for skin. They can be brightening, they can penetrate deep, and they're also really good exfoliators. Now, on top of that, there is some aloe vera in here, which is really nice just because acids can really burn. This is something that like you would see an esthetician or a dermatologist using for like a legit face peel. So the fact that this is in consumer hands is number one, awesome because yay acids, but also number two, oh my god, scary because people can do a lot of damage with this. So the fact that they used a little bit of aloe vera is nice because this can be a very, very powerful product. Now, our BHA comes from that salicylic acid, that fat-soluble acid that is really good and proven to help with acne. And on top of that, we do have a little bit of citric acid in there. I don't know if it's oxidized, but they put it in. And then on top of that, we do have a bunch of stabilizers. Now, the Revolution one is different. It does have glycolic, which is that AHA acid, and it also has lactic. Those are two of my favorites, and I think they're a really good blend. But other than that, they started to put in some more fruit extracts, which I found really interesting. They specifically use lemon, carrot, and pineapple. Carrots have beta carotene, pineapple has enzymes which can kind of exfoliate the skin, and lemons do have some vitamin C. So I'm not exactly sure what the concentration is or what the potency is, but I think it's interesting that they seem to go a little bit more natural or to try to use some more plant extracts. They also have some pepper in here and of course some stabilizers. Again, if you're super sensitive, some of these plant extracts, although natural, can be irritating. So in this case, the Revolution one might be a little bit more irritating than the Ordinary one. But if you're someone who really loves plant derived, or if you believe in that over chemical, you know my stance about that. But if you're someone who really looks for that, then the Revolution one might be the way to go. And to be honest, this entire situation is a little bit interesting. It kind of pushes that boundary of where is someone being a copycat and ripping off other people versus where is a brand just taking inspiration and taking very basic formulas that are found in manufacturing. That's how the Ordinary got started, is because they used stuff right off the shelves. But kind of where does that lie ethically? It's like you and a couple of friends showing up to an event and all wearing the same outfit. It's like, okay, what is the line of we look cute together and we got this as a squad versus, wow, I texted you what I was planning to wear 2 weeks before the event and it's kind of funny to see you wearing the exact same thing. These, however, are definitely not dupes. And the reason that I say that is because of the ingredients. I do think that Revolution seems to be better for those who are sensitive to phenoxyethanol. Or the Ordinary is priced slightly better, again, by like a couple of cents to $1. The Ordinary does also seem to buffer their products with more ingredients and more actives. So you'll probably see a better result, but is it because of the active ingredients or is it because of everything else you're buffering it with? And again, for Revolution Beauty, if you do have more mature skin or if you want something that does have plant extracts, you're gonna find that here and not in the Ordinary's products. To watch a video on my 3 favorite Ordinary products, click here, and to learn a little bit more about the other products that Revolution Beauty has that no one else does, you can watch that here. Always remember to be beautiful inside and out, and I cannot wait to see you in the next video. Love you guys. Bye.